This is what this clock sounded before I replaced the movement of it. It's quite loud. I don't know if you could sleep with a clock like this in your bedroom. I certainly wasn't. I was annoyed by this clicking sound. Well, this clock here has a new movement in it and a new set of hands. As you can see, it has a nice sweeping motion of the second hand. It's not exactly silent technology as it says right over here on the dial at 6 o'clock position, but at least it's much quieter than the one we have seen, and that was my experiment when I replaced the movement here with the new one, and we will see. I will perform the replacement of the movement on the previous clock with this one here. Not this one, but this very similar one, because I purchased a few of them from China. I'll demonstrate that to you on the website there. Okay? You could still hear this one, right? Can you? But it's much quieter than the one with that clicking sound, the one I showed you before. There are a lot of clock movements sold on eBay. As you can see here, I put silent clock movement here, and this is what I found. A huge number of those, as you can see here. Most of them are basically the same movement, but you need to pay attention to the size of this shaft protruding from the movement over here, as you can see, and to check what it is on your current clock and see if this one is going to fit. The one I purchased was where was that? Just a second, bear with me for a second. It's not on the first page. Oh, here it is. It's this one. And as you can see, it says that I purchased this item, you bought this item here. And yeah, they have different configurations of hands, different movements for different clocks. Here you can see one with the hook that you can hang the clock off of this, or if you don't have that on your current clock, then you need to purchase the one without it, if the clock hangs on its own hook there. And the one I'm talking about is this one here. See, if your current clock doesn't have it, you need to purchase another one. But the movement itself is exactly the same in each case. And what you need to pay attention to is the size of this, the shaft protruding from the movement. As you can see, this one is a huge one. If the clock face is rather thick, then you may need this one. So before you buy the movement, you need to pull out the movement that you have on your current clock and check what it is there that you have right now. The one I purchased was this one in particular, and we will see how I replace that on my other clock. You have seen already on the clock that it has been replaced, and the other one we will do right now. Okay, thanks. Okay, let's do the replacement itself. To replace the clock movement, we obviously need a clock. Okay, we will need to pull out the movement from it over here. We will need a new movement that came packaged like this, as you can see. I'll open it up right now and we'll see what came with it. This is the set of hands that came with it. and the new movement itself. And we will also need a Phillips screwdriver to open up the case of the clock to get down to the dial here. So let's get on with it. Okay, what we need to do is to unscrew these 4 screws over here around the back of the case before we remove the movement from the case, because there are hands attached to it on the face of the clock, so we would need to get that removed first. Get the hands removed first. Okay. Looks like I'm quite clumsy, or maybe it's because I'm trying to do that faster than you may want to keep those screws in a safe place somewhere, and this is the last one, so you won't lose them, because you will need to reassemble them to reassemble the clock again. Okay, we remove them. Now let's rotate the clock and see that at this moment we can remove the battery, so the hands would stop and wouldn't move there. Okay, now we need to see how it is attached to the clock face here. Here it is. This one comes out, and these are where the screws are protruding through and attaching it. We carefully remove the glass from here. Here. It's just a regular glass. You may want to be careful with that and not drop it. Now, removal of the hands, you need to be very careful with that. Yet firm, as you can see. Pull out one hand, put it to the side, and then firmly grip the second one, pull it out, and the third one. That's it. Now our clock is ready for the movement removal. There are 2 clips over here, one on this side and one on the other side. We need to very carefully pry the movement out of there, making sure that we don't break those. There, the movement is out. As you can see, the 2 movements, the old one and the new one, are here. Now, this is the old, this is the new, and the new set of hands over here. We could still use the old hands. They will fit here perfectly. I already tested it, but I just wanted to see how the new set will look on this clock. Okay, so we will put the new movement in under this clip first, making sure that the shaft protrudes through the hole over here on the dial. It's not always easy. As you can see, when I put this one first, then the, there you go, we got it in, basically forced it in there. Okay, now the set of hands, we will pull it out of a package here like this, and it has a second hand. Okay, it has the hour hand, sorry, that is the larger one, it's a minute hand, as I said, the second hand here, and the set of washers and nuts, and an hour hand. Okay, so we will install those very carefully, flip it over, and we will start installing that with the hands within starting with, oh, sorry, we need to at this point and on this particular clock we don't really need to install the washers and all that stuff, but it just looks better I find when you have those installed. So I'll get them installed. This big rubber one here, I don't know if it's gonna be enough room there to get a grip by this. Looks like I got enough room. Okay, let's start with installing the hour hand first, and we point it at as much as we can to the 12 o'clock position. That's my grandfather clock there, and very gently put it as close to the 12 o'clock position as we can. The other one goes to the next shaft and points to the same position ideally. Again, very carefully. There. Oops. Not quite there. There. We need to make sure that the two hands have enough clearance between each other so they don't touch each other and don't touch anything else on the clock. Now the second hand is slightly larger here. As you can see, it's longer and will not fit under the glass there. So we have two options: either to use the previous second hand, which was, as you can see, much shorter, or cut the new one, and I choose to use the previous one. We'll install the previous one over here at the same 12 o'clock position, and look at the hands from this position here, making sure that none of them interfere with each other. Okay, now that all three of them are pointing at 12 more or less, we will flip the clock over and install a battery to check if the movement is working. And what do we see? We see that it's working, and it's actually quite very quiet. Nice sweeping motion of the second hand, and that's what we want, and no clicking sound whatsoever. Okay, okay, at this point we will carefully flip the clock over without touching hands or anything, and remove we could remove the battery to prevent the damage to the moving second hand, or because it looks like it all fits quite nicely, I will attempt to put the glass on and see what happens. Oh no, that's not good. Turns out that our movement protrudes much higher than the old one. Well, not much, but still, that the glass rests on the second hand here, on the central shaft over here, and that is no good, which means this movement cannot be installed on this particular clock. That sucks, because it works practically silently here, unless I find a different domed kind of glass or crystal to cover this clock with, or not use the glass at all, which could be the case, because it will be sitting on the wall anyway. We just need to be careful to remember that there is no glass on it, and that's what I will do. I will leave it without a glass and install the screws back in. Even though those screws basically are needed only for holding the glass in place, but in our case I don't want them to be lost, and I want to be very careful not to touch the table with so the hands wouldn't be interrupted. That's a bummer. I didn't expect it to be this way. That the shaft will be longer. On my other clock it fitted quite nicely, but this one turned out to be a bit shallower. Nevertheless, it works practically silently, as you can see, and with a nice sweeping motion of the second hand. I'll leave it like this, to be honest. I don't really care if it has the glass or not, as long as it doesn't bother me in the bedroom and it doesn't tick anymore. Okay, there you go. If you liked what you saw, please click that like button and subscribe to my channel. Okay, thank you. I'll see you next time.